Good morning, and welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. Frank, thanks for getting up extra early. We're recording this just a couple days early. I am currently up in Minnesota, Wabasha, Minnesota, for the Dick Hiley St. Jude Bass Classic. If you're watching this episode, go back and watch Monday's episode of BTO. We have Gretchen Simon on from St. Jude, who talks about raising over $1 million just this year for a single event. Frank,
dude, isn't that crazy? That's so good, though. I mean, if you think about it.
Yeah, it is.
I'm
it's an event.
Around.
How far are you from? You're from a ways from like Pool 4, 5, 6 in Minnesota.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty good haul for me.
I was gonna say that should be on everyone's bucket list as a thing to do. It is the most well-run tournament that I have ever been a part of. I'm trying to see how much we've run or how much they've raised over the entire history of it. Yeah. First tournament was in 1999. They raised $11,000, and then I fished it last year. We raised $735,000. Total over $5.8 million. So this is we're approaching $7 million. They are. I've only fished it 2 years. $7 million in donations to St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
That's
just
fabulous,
from one tournament. Man. From one tournament.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if you think about it, all the tournament trails guys fish and all the tournaments guys fish. If you think about it, that's an extraordinary amount of money for an event.
It absolutely is. Something else that went to a good cause was the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame auction that took place with the induction ceremony last week. I was there, got to watch Mike Iaconelli get inducted along with Bruce Holt, his family members, and then Glenn Andrews. He's like 93 years old. He was there for his introduction there, but a great time had by all. Along with that was the auction that excuse me,
that's all right, dude,
that you graciously donated a drawing, a 1-of-1 autograph drawing. Did you see how much that went for, Frank?
I did not.
it opened at $50.
Fair enough.
And then just days before, it was at like 175, 180. Do you want to take a fair guess on what it went for?
I will say $425.
Very close. $375.
Excellent.
You helped raise those. Thank you to the BTL and Day 4 listeners who bid on that item to get it up to $375. Not as much as the Fish with Ben Milliken, which went for $15,550 for a day with Ben Milliken.
Oh my gosh. Was that a one individual or was that a corporate donation?
I don't know.
Do you know?
I don't know. I'm not privy to that information on who was actually doing the bidding.
That is absolutely
$15,500.
That's astronomical, dude.
Mm-hmm. There might be a little bit more than bass fishing involved with that day. You might be like, hey, you're taking me to a steak dinner also for $15,500.
That's right. And I get a bottle of bourbon.
Yeah. And one of your swim baits.
Correct.
Also, the BTL experience went for $2,000. So that's the
very good
day of crappie fishing, cleaning the fish, and co-hosting BTL for a day.
Very good. So does that mean when I come down in January, I got to pay you money?
No, you're good. You're a money maker, Frank.
So
I appreciate that. Interesting show today. First of all, have you gotten back on the bass bandwagon, or are you still off in left field chasing crappie every day?
No, I put the crappie sticks down. I am now on the prowl for the old greenies, man. So
because it is that transitional time of the year. We are in the beginning of October, and we basically just, would you say we have made our way through the most difficult time of the year to pattern and catch bass, and we are now kind of getting back towards a time of the year that is, for lack of a better term, enjoyable?
Well, yeah, enjoyable and predictable.
And productive.
So yes, I would say that after, that early transition period is a little funky, but It can be good. It can be really good actually, but it's a tricky time because everything's changing constantly. But now the temperatures are dropping. The days are really getting super short. The bass are where they want to be, and the predictability of them becomes a little better now. So the fishing's going to be just for me from now until the lake freezes. It's going to be outstanding. So I'm looking forward to it.
And that area of Ohio where you're at, that lake freezes anywhere from November to January, depending on the
Weather,
year,
yeah.
right?
Oh yeah, there's sometimes when we're ice fishing by Thanksgiving and sometimes when we're not even able to get on the ice all year. Um, I would hate to be a tackle store owner up here trying to buy ice fishing stuff because it is very like like you could have a season where you go light on ice fishing and then we pound the ice and they have no stuff, they have no tackle to sell, or
Mhm.
conversely they go heavy on the ice fishing stuff and we have 2 weeks of solid ice and then they don't sell hardly anything.
Do
That's a very volatile game here.
do you guys ice fish Erie? Is there enough ice that gets on Erie where you can get out on the Great Lake and actually catch a few?
Oh yeah, 100%, but I don't walk out on Lake Erie ever. I'm not I don't
Shifting
I
ice
just
plates?
yeah, I had a buddy of mine that got stuck out there overnight on a drifting ice plate. Um,
Holy cow, how did that go down?
good,
They're
they are
fishing.
they're fishing. The biggest, half a mile chunk breaks off. All of a sudden, they're vertical jigging, and there's a lot of current in the hole, and their line's going sideways. And they realized that they were in deep doo doo, and it broke away from the main, and they couldn't get back, and so they wound up getting rescued in the morning.
Like helicopter?
Airboats.
Really?
They do both. They do helicopters and airboats. But what happened in the old days, this is hilarious. And I say the old days, it was not the old days. It was probably like 10 or 12 years ago. They would helicopter out, get the guys, or airboat out, get the guys, throw their equipment, bring it back, drop them off, and those guys would walk right back out. So
And go fishing?
they made a rule now that if you get rescued off the ice, A, you're paying for it where you didn't pay for it before. A, you're paying for it. And B, you have to leave all of your equipment on the ice. Nothing comes back with you. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I got it right here. This would have to be it. Dozens rescued from Lake Erie ice. There
Oh
they are
yeah.
walking on the ice. There's the airboats.
Right. I mean, I um I don't go out there, dude. I don't like it. You see,
Was that it? Catawba Island?
yeah, these guys, I don't know which part of the lake my buddies were on. I think they were
Yeah.
more Central Basin related. Um, but the reality of it is you pound gigantic walleyes, big perch. I mean, the fishing is fabulous. If you're an ice fishing person, uh, you'd almost be remiss to miss a shot at that because you literally catch. I mean, it's very prolific. But me, I'm inland guy. Ice fishing. I want to see thick ice. I want to see land. Not that, and that's like some of the cracks that happen, and then you can't get
Yeah.
back.
So here's a guy right here's people right here that were fishing, and then this crack happened, and now they're stuck on the ice.
Correct, and that's the problem with Lake Erie. Remember Lake Erie has tons and tons of current. So what happens is Lake Erie replenishes its entire water supply every 3 years.
Yep.
So think about that's an enormous amount of current to literally replace the entire
And that's
lake's
going
water
on
system.
underneath even when it's frozen.
Correct. It never stops. The current never stops. So, I mean, I'm not saying don't go ice fishing out there. There's plenty of guides that have all the equipment to keep it safe. Even the guides have airboats. So, if you hire a guide out there, it's probably the best way to go, because you won't get stuck because they have the right equipment. Venture out on your own and you're on your own.
You know what these are then?
Yeah, those are ice picks.
Yeah, you put these things. I got these from the Crappie Chronicles guys. Let's see if I can do this. I got multiple cords now. I'm gonna end up with these ice picks stuck in my headphones. I know, but
Or
you walk around like that. I got these when I went and did the Crappie Chronicles a couple years ago, and then if you go in, boom,
you pull them
and
out, you stick them on the ice,
picks, and you go poop, and that keeps you from going down, and then you can use it to.
Right, and you'd be surprised how many people don't carry those on the ice. And here, look, I went through the ice once, and I will tell you this. Okay, I have a float suit that I wear,
Yeah.
nice fishing float suit. So when I went through the ice, I really didn't go under. The suit kept me, chest above the water. But getting back on the ice, because I didn't have picks back then. Getting back on the ice, you're like a greased seal trying to get out of the water. It's tough. It's really tough but the picks make it real easy because now you got some traction and some leverage. So, it's a pretty good safety tool to have for sure.
Yeah, and I didn't have I had the insulated bibs and stuff, but I didn't have the flotation suit because AFCO doesn't have a float suit yet.
Right.
So they were like, yeah, anytime you're on the ice, you're wearing those.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And ironically enough, my float suit, today's float suits, my old one was a Coast Guard flotation suit, which you're like the Pillsbury Doughboy. You know what I mean?
Waddling out there.
Yeah, they're not. They weren't for activity. They were for pure rescue.
Right.
And so, but the new ones today, they're more like snowmobile suits. They're fitted a little nicer. They're a little easier to walk around and
you
get
brought
around
one when we crappie fished last winter.
Yeah, 100%. So I use, mine's a striker, but I like it because it's insanely warm. And I wear it. I wear it once the water temperature, gets into the low 50s and the air temperature is below that. I wear them constantly, even in the bass boat, just fishing, because I've also fallen in. I've fallen in January off the side of the boat, and it's really not a good idea.
I would agree with that. One of the things when it comes to, wait till you see this transition, ice fishing, wintertime fishing, a lot of times, from my experience, you're using small baits.
We're talking little baits, big bass.
Oh, so I've been waiting to work that one in for 13 minutes and 43 seconds, Frank. But that
I've been stalling on it, waiting for it.
That is, well, I mean, sometimes you go down a wormhole and I'm interested in it. I had not, I mean, I think I've heard of the guys getting stuck out there, but
oh yeah,
I mean, the fact that it's a reality that, like, hey, we might be floating around a Great Lake here on a chunk of ice, like it's Ice Age 3.
It's a reality. Ice Age 3.
But big bass, little baits. And
well, go on.
No, I was just gonna say that was what we were talking about today, and then give the floor to you.
Well, we're gonna go back and forth on this floor. Obviously, there's very obvious little baits that everybody knows, everybody throws. Probably the most known is the Ned rig. The Ned rig has been around for quite a while by now, and it's a tiny, you know what it is. It's just a little tiny mini dinger, essentially.
Yep.
And it catches a lot of fish. I rely on it a lot lately, especially in some of the cleaner lakes that I fish. I rely on it a lot. The other small baits that everybody, especially now, Great Lakes finesse. Holy smokes! I mean, they're making a killing on little tiny baits. You know, the drop shot minnow, the snap craw. Um, that is coming on like gangbusters. But you know, everybody is like, well, yeah, that's smallmouth stuff. But it's not just for smallmouth. I mean, you catch largemouth and spotted bass, everything else on them. So, you know, that snack craw's tiny.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a
So's the
tiny
drop
bait.
minnow.
And so is the drop minnow. In fact, the drop minnow is small enough where it's actually a decent crappie bait. Um, but it catches gigantic bass. I mean, it just really does. So a lot of the 4-inch finesse worm, when I was coming up the pipe, the 4-inch finesse worm was the small bait. Well, that
Mhm.
and remember the French fry, the original French fry.
Is that
Um,
still made by anybody?
I I thought Zoom made the French fry back
Yeah.
in the day.
Is there no equivalent?
I'm sure probably the 3-inch dinger and the 4-inch dinger, I would say. But here's another thing. The first tiny bait was the do nothing worm. Remember that thing? It's just a little stick of a worm with 2 hooks in it,
Yep.
pre-rigged. It was a pre-rigged worm. The thing was tiny. Those were the originals, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then so
Okay.
and here, don't we can't overlook grubs.
Yep.
Back in the day, I fished a ton of grubs, slowly swimming them, little 2 and 3 inch grubs. Um, you know, they even have the tubes. Uh, they even had have the micro tubes and stuff that we used to fish a lot of bass with. So, and then back, oh yeah, there's a bait, dude. I think Venom used to make it. The Super Do. It was a tiny little solid bodied piece of plastic, but it had like 10 tentacles off the back, like a
How do you say it?
super
Super. How do
do,
you spell that?
as super, and
Yeah.
then do is in probably do or doo, I would guess.
And it was just a little bitty thing.
Oh yeah, it was a tiny little dude, and we used to uh, flip those things, and we used
There it
the
is.
there it is. And well, that's the 5-inch, but in the
Yes.
beginning it was a little guy. And so like it took a 1/0 hook, you know what I
Okay.
mean? And we used to put that on a 507 underspin. You push the button, click, and then you pitch it out
Mm-hmm.
there. So you could pitch it on 20-pound test line and throw it on a 1/16 ounce slip sinker. Back way back when I was just started, that was a huge technique here. And we caught them, and we caught good ones. I mean, good ones on it. Subsequently, as time goes on, trends change, fishing techniques change. Forward facing sonar has brought back tiny baits again. Look at the Demiki rig. I mean, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
guys are throwing little tiny minnow imitators on Demikis, based and predicated off of the forward facing sonar. We're back when I was doing it, we would vertically do it over 2D sonar. Um, and you'd have to, and they'd have to be deep, because you know how it is. Sometimes when you're vertical on fish, if the water's super clear or very shallow, the minute you touch your trolling motor, you can see the fish scatter. And
Yep.
so, so things change. Some of my favorite baits. This is going to be. I'm going to show you some crankbaits
Okay.
that some of them aren't made anymore. Some of them are. Um, that are absolutely. They're in my boat today. In fact, I pulled a bunch of boxes. I pulled a bunch of
Ooh.
boxes out of my boat. I even have another box out of my reach. Um, I just pulled them out of the boat, and I still fish these today. I still catch fish on them today. So when we're talking crankbaits, and we're talking little crankbaits, there are certain times of the year where these cannot be beat. They just excel. So the first part of the year that is a little bit tricky, I'm going to say after the spawn, but that's really not accurate. It's after the hatch. It's when you start to see all the balls of little tiny bait, little tiny bluegills, little tiny bass. They're still balled up. These little crankbaits are murder because everything is small in the system. And believe it or not, the other time of year is about right now, at least
Mhm.
where I live. The bait fish aren't growing big. The bass are keying in on little tiny 1-inch stuff, and our lakes are in drawdown. Some of them have been drawn down already. Some of them are still coming down. One of my favorite little baits is the C76 Big O. This bait is small here. Oh, I don't have my ruler up here. This
Watch the
bait is,
hooks, Uncle Frank.
yeah, I got you, man. This bait is tiny. This is G
Mhm.
finish. This color here is not made anymore. This is G finish. This bait is probably 1.25 inches, inch and a half, maybe. Dives down 4 to 6 feet. A lot of guys will throw it on a spinning rod because they can't throw it on a bait caster. I've caught some monster bass here. I'll give you an idea how small this bait is. This hook is a number 10
Oh, wow.
on it.
Yeah, that's a little baby bait. So, how do you determine, let's say you get to the lake, you've got your standard stuff, but you want to determine the size of bait that the bass are keying on, because that's the biggest is not only identifying the forage, but then the size of the forage
Right.
so they can attack it. How do you determine, hey, I need to tie on a little crankbait like that? I need to maybe Demiki rig a 2.75 inch Great Lakes finesse drop shad. I need to use something small. Like, what is the best way to figure out what the size of the bait fish are,
A
or do you
lot
just
of
assume it?
well, a lot of times you'll see the bait, especially on lakes that get drawn down because when they start to pull the water, all the bait goes to the bank. Well, not all of it, but a majority goes to the bank. Points, secondary points, shallow flats, start to get bait fish movement on them, and then like you'll cast your lure like a spinner bait. You'll cast your spinner bait up there, and you'll see the shad, how they
Mhm.
and bust out of the water. Well, you could see if they're big or not because if they're not big, it looks like raindrops going.
Okay.
You know, when they're big and you do that and they scatter, you get V wakes and some pop out of the water and you can literally see them. That's a really big sign. The other thing is if you're throwing conventional tackle and you're catching one here and one there, and you know there's more bass in the area, it's a good idea to downsize it and check it out. That's actually how this tiny Big O came to play. I was actually fishing a tournament on a drawdown lake, and I was throwing the regular size Big O, which I have here, the C77. Here, I'll show you the difference.
Oh, wow. Yep.
Okay, this is this is a C77, which is a small bait in itself. But then you look at the little one. I mean, there's a big difference in
Mhm.
size. So I was throwing this, my buddy was throwing this, and he started catching them behind me. And so then I had to go to the small one. And that's how we figured that out. It was a team event. So my buddy um,
Okay.
Dennis, started catching them on the little one. And then I'm like, we better be throwing these. Another bait that doesn't get a lot of attention is and I'm going to show you another. Well, okay, when I get unhooked here.
Yeah, you're
I'm gonna
making me
show you.
nervous with all the hooks and fast movement
Well,
with the
these just came right out of my boat. So
have
so
a
this is
viral moment here.
right. So now you have to pay attention. This is a Norman deep baby N. Okay.
Okay.
This is a fish catching beast of a machine right here. The deep baby N. Now this is the Big O C77. They're very similar in size, but you can see the Big O is just a tiny bit smaller, right?
Mhm.
So a very old school bait that we used to throw back in the day was the deep, tiny end, which is right there. So you could see that
Not
the
that
deep,
much bigger, but it is bigger, but still small.
it's very small. So here, the deep, tiny end, AKA everybody knew this as the crappie crankbait back in the day. So if you look at the tiny big O compared to it, they're about the same size.
Mm-hmm.
You follow me? So the big thing with this, I'm gonna do a bait hack right now for you guys. This is gonna blow your mind. So this bait is tiny. It's an inch and a half, maybe. It's tough to throw on a bait caster, but because Normans are made out of butyrate and then they're dipped in gel coat, it's a little bit heavier. So it's way easier to throw on a bait caster than the big O. Okay, the little tiny big O. But what I'll do is, because there's some times where as the water gets colder, I want to slow the bait's rise down a lot, and I want to give it a little bit more heaviness so I can cast it easier. So usually I'm throwing this on 8-pound fluoro. And so what I'll do is, and I picked my chrome and blue one out to show you. So what I did was, you see the white tape on the belly?
Mm-hmm.
You also notice I got some lead wrap on the hook,
Mm-hmm.
right? Well, underneath this tape is also lead. It's lead tape. And so underneath, I put the white over it because the lead tape is gray, and I wanted the white belly on this. And so what that does is this gives this bait a little bit more weight. It becomes really super easy to throw, and it rises very slow. So now as the water cools down, I can fish this almost as like a suspender. So I can get it through, over the shallow stuff. And then when you come off that first ridge, that first invisible zone where you
Yep.
can't hardly see
Like
the
that
bottom
3 to 5 foot.
100%. Then I come over there and I kill it for a couple seconds and then start reeling it in again. You'd be surprised how many bites come on the pause like that with this bait.
Will you walk us through that then on like what exactly, like what type of lead wrap that is, if people want to do that, like how they.
Yeah. So what's on the hook?
A little higher.
Whoa. Where
Oh,
am I?
oh, there you go.
So what's on the hook? It's just nymph lead. You can get at any fly fishing shop or any shop that sells fly materials. It's nymphing lead, and I think this is 0.15. They make all kinds of thicknesses, all the way to 0.30, but you're talking real fat at that point. So I use the thinner one on the hook because I don't want to. What I don't want to do is I don't want to hurt the action of this bait because it's
Mm-hmm.
critical. It's a great action. And then the belly, I'm going to pull this tape off here.
Okay. Sacrificing one for the.
Yeah, I'm going to sacrifice it. I don't like to do this because once I put this electrical
Well,
tape on,
you don't have to if you don't want to.
yeah, we have to. I serve the fan, man.
Okay. I just was curious because it looked good, but there's always that
Well,
deal of, well, how do I make mine look like it and make sure that the same thing is going on with the.
okay, so it's on pretty good. So here's the deal. So
Okay.
all it is, it's the same. It's lead golf tape, or it's flat lead nymphing weight if you get it at a fly shop, which would be probably way less expensive than getting it at a fly shop than a golf shop. But basically, it's lead tape, and it looks like a 1-inch piece of tape, and one side's sticky and one side is lead. And so then I just cut it 3/16 of an inch wide and the length of the body. And you have
This
to
stuff.
set. Where are you? Go to lead. Go to a fly shop. Go to lead tape fly fishing.
Okay.
But yeah, the roll stuff is what you were looking for. But sometimes you got to beware because the golfer's tape is a little thicker, a little heavier. So you want to go to lead nymph tape.
That's a weird thing to Google.
Yeah, I know. But hey, we're talking tiny baits, man, and I'm doing a bait hack. I should have brought my
camera like that.
Yeah, lead tape. That'll
Racket
work.
weighting tape. That's a racket weighting tape.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, right?
Half inch by 36 inches.
Yeah, that's exactly
what
it is.
Okay.
And so you just do a 3/16 inch, the length of the body, but you notice that I have it. I cut it before
you tapered it so it kind of follows the shape of the body and looks somewhat natural.
Correct. And then I just use the white electrical tape over it, because what that'll do then is that hides the lead.
Okay, so that's just white electrical tape.
Yeah, and it won't come off.
Okay.
It's unbelievable. It just doesn't come off.
Doesn't affect the action if you do it right and you do it balanced. It just makes it more castable and a little bit more suspending.
Yeah, 100%, and it'll cast for you on a bait caster, which is critical for me, because I know there's a lot of guys that throw the little light stuff, even the tiny little jerk baits, which we'll get into here in a minute, on spinning rods. I don't have an issue with that. I don't want to throw it on a spinning rod, and so I won't. I feel like I have more control with the bait caster in this situation. I can be real subtle with my movements. It's just more natural for me. So I prefer to throw the bait caster. And that's what I do. The other thing now we'll transition over into the tiny jerk bait stuff, like the Pointer 78, all those little 3-inch or less jerk baits. One of my all-time favorites is the Excalibur XT3. This one I painted myself, by the way.
Nice.
But the little Excalibur XT3, it's actually a 3-inch bait. Actually, if you measure from the tail hook hanger to the line tie, it's 3 inches and 1/8. This is a deadly, deadly, deadly suspending jerk bait. Sad to see it go away, when back in the day, this bait's been discontinued forever. Really sad to see it go away. It's just got so many good attributes to it. I catch so many giant bass on it. And like I said, there's other small jerk baits out there that behave the same way, do the same thing. And they're usually the 3-inch or less ones. They're just phenomenal. I can honestly tell you, I cannot count how many 4-pound plus bass I have caught on this bait. I have no idea. I catch tons of them on it. Now, I'm usually fishing that early spring, late fall, winter, cold water periods. Bait fish are small, bass are keying in on small bait. That's traditionally when I'm fishing it. Like, I'm not live scoping summertime brush pile bass with this, because they're going to want, their metabolism is much higher. They're going to want a big piece of food. They're burning up calories faster, so their metabolism's faster. They're looking for money meals, is what I call them, money meals. You have to remember, in cold water periods, the bass's metabolism goes down. They still feed, but they don't have to feed as much, because they're not having that caloric burn that they have in the warm water. And so, you got to keep these factors in place. Now, bass are opportunistic predators, so no bass is going to pass up an easy meal, whether it's hot out or cold out. It doesn't matter. They're just not going to pass it up, because they're opportunistic predators. So they will gobble it up. But I've seen them prefer different size baits. Especially, I started noticing this first. I'll tell you when I really noticed it first: spinnerbait fishing.
A little.
Oh man, I have some favorite spinnerbaits that I throw, and I noticed that the Ohio River was the big lesson learner for me on bait fish size. Okay, I used to go out there with the half-ounce spinnerbait, slow roll the thing, and I would catch a lot of fish on it. And then I went down this one stretch, and the Ohio River is real funky because there's years when it'll have submergent vegetation and years when it doesn't. It's all predicated on spring rains, dirty water conditions, blah blah blah. So we happen to have we had clear water episodes. We got good grass on this one pool, and I go down the grass bed and I'm slow rolling my half-ounce spinnerbait, and whoa, flash comes out of the grass. He T-bones the bait, and I don't have him. Happens again, and I don't have them. And I realized that bass were hitting the blades of the spinnerbait. I dropped down to a 1/4 ounce spinnerbait and absolutely mauled them. They were choking on the thing. So that's when I first, and this is, we're talking decades ago. That's when I realized that the size of your lure, you have to pay attention to what the bass are telling you, because you could be in the right area and completely miss the boat by being either too large with your bait or too small with your bait. So yeah, I always pay attention to that. And then of course the obvious factor is when you flip a bass in your boat, and sometimes you know how you flip them in the boat, they bounce on the carpeting and they regurgitate a bait fish.
Yep.
I always look at it to see how long that bait fish is. If they're tiny, I'm making switches right like now. So just some of the, some little tricks and tips. Are you frozen?
No, let me see if I can pull this up. It's very interesting. You talked about this. I totally forgot about this. And I remember now. So I finished 11th. I was actually 8th going into the 3rd day. I made the cut. The cut day was when they did 12 2 years ago on Neely Henry in the Bassmaster Open. And it was tough. And I got on a 0.5 RC 0.5 bite. And what jogged my memory was I was down lake fishing riprap, and that 3 to 5 foot range. As soon as that little bitty 0.5 went out of sight, it would just load up. And that got me through the entire time. And you can see like little, let me see if I can show it. I was pulling up the video to see.
Oh, do you have bait fish bouncing on the deck of your boat when the bass came in?
Look, see that little bitty crankbait?
Oh yeah.
Little bitty crankbait. And I was throwing a jerkbait, but you can see, here it is right here. I'm cranking, boom. The sucker gets out of sight. There it is. I mean, we're not talking giants here. I mean, I catch a giant doing it, but I mean, this is in the open. There it is right there. There's a spot with that little.
That's money, dude.
That little bitty 0.5 crankbait. And then even before, like I'm casting it up, up in between docks, getting it down in that 3 to 4 foot range, hit something, boom, load up on that.
Yeah,
but I'm throwing it on 10-pound test.
Yep.
Just like you said, I'm throwing it on a 7 foot medium action. I've got the hooks. I land it. You'll see it here in a second. I go absolutely bonkers. There it is. See that little plug stuck on his mouth?
You gotta love it, man.
Yeah, but just little plug.
Yeah, and they get it gets overlooked today because, like I said, trends. We have a whole new game in front of us today with all this sonar and everything. So there's a lot of old techniques that are kind of waning, not because they don't work, because it's not cool anymore. And there's other ways that guys are fishing now, and they're being very successful at it. But that doesn't mean the old school isn't successful, because it is. And so, you got to kind of mix the new with the old to keep current, I
Mhm.
guess would be, for lack of a better word.
I agree. If you want to get any of this stuff, banners.
Yeah, BTL 23, capital, all
Yeah.
capital.
The
BTL.
LureNet loyal listener code is capital BTL 23, 15% off of all regularly priced items.
Now you'll find the big O's in all three sizes. You'll find the deep tiny N and the deep baby N under Norman, but you will not find, and very sadly to say, you will not find the XT3 because Excalibur doesn't exist anymore.
You can probably eBay those.
Yeah, good luck.
Are they?
I've
Are
al-
they?
I've I've already been on down that train. I've got as many as I could possibly get. Look at how nice that paint job reflects. That is
What
so
is it?
that is so
What is the name
shabby.
of it? The Excalibur what?
XT3. You have to be careful because there's an XT4 as well.
Excalibur XT3. Here it is. I found one. Why is that so giant? No, it's zoomed. It's zoomed into 500. There's an Excalibur XT3D, which stands for deep, I'm guessing.
Right, that's the deep version, which actually goes probably about 3 feet deeper. And I have those too. Those are good as well.
$125.
Yeah, like I said, good luck with that. I've gone through hell on earth to find these things, literally. The Pointer 78 is its duplicate probably, and they're still made today. There's just something about this bait that's just got the right. It's right.
Yeah, they're hard. They're hard to find. So there it is. There it is. Big bass on little baits. And the good thing is you can also double these up. These are great. You've done pond fishing, bag
Oh
fishing
yeah.
stuff too.
Oh,
These are all great for that. You can use them for white bass. You could use them for all sorts of stuff. But
hey,
there
let
is
me
a
show you
time and
this.
place.
This C77 Big O right here.
Yep.
You all know that I steelhead fish, fly rod, fly fish for steelhead. When I'm in a hurry and don't want to play games, I'll go to the river with this bait and my 725 Powell cranking, and I'll go maul the steelhead on this bait right here. It's probably you can't beat it. You just can't beat it. I mean, because the steelhead go out to the main lake and they feed on alewives and emerald shiners their entire life. And then when they come in the river and you throw them this thing that looks just like an alewife or an emerald shiner, they can't handle it and they crush it. And my steelhead buddies get so pissed at me because I've taken the purity out of the game.
You're not swinging something in the current.
Oh, I'm trucking these little crankbaits on 12-pound fluoro and jacking them. They're like, dude, come on, man.
I love it. That season's coming up.
Oh, it's on us now. We got an early run already. We did. We got an early run, but I'm not chasing them things. I got bass to catch first.
All right. Anything else you need to get in here, Frank, before we wrap up today's big bass little bait show with a touch of ice fishing?
A touch of tragedy and and drama. No, yeah. I'm good. I think we're good. I loved it.
All right, we're shooting super early in the morning, so thanks for jumping up, getting on early, getting the cup of Joe. I mentioned did I say that last time? I mentioned Black Rifle on the show with Zaldane. They sent me like a mug, and they sent They sent me like 180 K cups. And like 5 different flavors, so I'm good to go. I'm loaded to the cork with Black Rifle coffee.
Yeah, and I think this is Fireman's Brew, or what's the one? Firehouse, I think it's called. What is it? Yeah.
All right.
Wow.
I'm looking at it. I found one that's used, $20. I think I've got some. I think I might have a little small jerkbait box that has 6 or 7 of those stashed away in one of the compartments that I'll have
we're gonna have to talk.
I'm gonna have to go in and dig that out. All right, we'll be back. We'll be back live next Thursday, October 12th. I haven't made this announcement. I'll make this announcement now. I'm not going to the final Bassmaster Open on the Harris Chain of Lakes. That would have been the first day of next Thursday will be the first day of competition. So I could either let everyone tune in and see live that I'm not there, or let people know a week in advance, basically just after 8 events. I'm out of it in the points. I'm headed up to Minnesota this whole week for that Dick Kiley St. Jude Bass Classic. So I would miss all of practice. I wouldn't be able to get back down there until Tuesday, which would only give me 1 day of practice on that fishery, plus an additional $4,000 to $5,000 between plane tickets and driving there and lodging. Right. So,
well, and theoretically, you say 1 day, but theoretically, it's a half a day.
Yeah, theoretically, it is a half. Well, I would have gotten in like half a Tuesday by the time when I looked at flights, and then I would have had to leave my boat down there and fly up to Minnesota, and then I'd have been at Minnesota with no tackle.
Yeah,
so it wasn't good. So I guess I accomplished one goal this year, Frank. I weighed in a limit every day of the Opens that I competed in.
There you go. Which is it's hard enough to do anyway.
Yeah. I think 4 of the 16 days I caught 5 fish. Like exactly 5.
That's all right. That's okay.
And then some of the days I blistered them, but it'll be interesting to see who makes the
yeah, it's tight. It's still pretty tight. Who makes those
top 8? Yeah, we'll maybe have a little bit of a look in there
when we get
next
closer.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yep. Next Thursday. So, all right, this has been another edition of Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish. Big bass, little baits. What will we think of next?
I don't know. Maybe forward-facing sonar.
Oh, gosh. We'll either gain a bunch or lose a bunch, but we'll get feedback. That's guaranteed for sure on that.
Exactly.
All right, Frank, have a good day. Thanks for jumping on this morning. We'll see everybody next Monday. We'll be back live 8:30 a.m. Central Time. Listen, hey, if you're a fan of Frank Scalish, the show Day 4 and BTL, do me a favor. If you're watching this on YouTube, you have to sign in, make a Google account, sign into it, subscribe to the show. That way you know whenever we go live, whenever a new BTL comes out, hit the little bell notification. Also give us a thumbs up. That helps with the algorithm. Comment on it. And if you're listening on iTunes, give us a review, a 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1-star review. And then also leave a comment. We're over 2,000 reviews there. That is big when we're coming into the time of the season. We're renewing contracts for 2024, which will allow us to bring you many more Day 4s with Frank Scalish and BTLs.
And to continue on this wonderful wonderful event.
Whatever you want to call this. All right, Frank. See ya.